What's up, agents? How y'all doing today? Hope everybody's hanging in there, being as safe as you guys need to be. So today we're gonna go way back to the second actual build video I ever did, which was covering cluster mines along with the Bombardier Drone. And the Bombardier Drone, just right out the gate, it used to be significantly stronger than it is now. So this is going to be a video more showcasing its strengths, its weaknesses, and what sort of options and alternatives you may go with instead of this, or how, if you actually want to incorporate it into your build, how you may do so. All right, hopefully you will get some new information out of this, or at least find it entertaining. If so, smashing that thumbs up button would be greatly appreciated. Hopefully by the end of this, I will earn your guys' subscription. Best thing you can do to help my channel is to share this video. And anything else you guys want to see or anything you would do different in this build, go ahead and leave a comment down below. All right, let's get into this. All right, agents, so the first thing that I will note is this build that we're going to be using is based entirely upon the standard Ninja Boom build. So if I have my stuff together, it should be right up there, and you guys can click to that, and that's a more comprehensive build, although I will be getting pretty in-depth in this. All right, to start off with the specialization, we're going to be using the Demolitionist, and this is because it is innately buffing explosives. So first of all, you will get Brace for Impact with the Demolitionist, and this will allow you to ignore one explosion every 60 seconds, whether it's from the enemy or from yourself. Next, you will get access to the Demolitionist Tactical Link, which gives everybody in your team 5% bonus damage to targets out of cover. You will get access to the Frag Grenade, which will add a bleed to your grenade. The Small Laser Pointer, which will add 7% critical hit chance. This is one of the best sources of critical hit chance as far as mods for your weapons. It does give you access to the artillery turret. In fact, it's the only way to get access to the artillery turret. And it gets you explosive ordnances, which will give you 10% additional explosive damage. And you will see at the end of this, it will net us a total of 40% explosive damage bonus, which is multiplicative on top of all the other bonuses. All right, so moving on to the gear and the brand sets. I did try a little bit of the hardwire. I'll probably stick a little bit of that gameplay in here. Anything the hardwire could do, we could do better with the Ninja Boom and relying on the chest talent we'll get into. So while the hardwired set will work and may be easier to gear for, the Ninja Boom is the way to go. So of course that is based off of the exotic Ninja Bike Messenger backpack, which gives you all 3 core talents, or all core attributes rather, and the resourceful talent. So resourceful will unlock 1 bonus set to your gear sets or your brand sets. We're going to run with 1 China Light. That'll get us 15% explosive damage and 10% skill haste. We're going to add a Grupo Sombra for 15% crit hit damage and 15% explosive damage. So that China Light and the Grupo Sombra is 30% explosive damage. The 10% explosive ordnance nets us that 40% I was talking about. Next, we're going to use 1 Hanayu for the skill damage as well as the skill haste. And then we're going to double up on Empress International for the 10% skill health, the 10% skill damage, and that 10% skill efficiency. As far as the attributes go, the major attribute, we're going to want skill damage in every slot, except for the Ninja Bike, of course. And then you're going to mix and match your armor per second and skill haste to get wherever you want to be. That's your personal preference. I run more armor per second, a little less skill haste, because I trust in my skilled. If your luck is not as good as mine, you might want to run skill haste. And that goes to the mods. I run 3 skill haste mods. As far as the talent, we are going with the name Caesar's Guard Empress International chess piece for the perfectly skilled. This nets us a 30% chance on skill kill to automatically reset our skills. If you do not have the Caesar's Guard, or you have just a better piece that's one of the other brand sets, you can feel free to use that. It just lowers it to a 25% chance on skill kill. Pretty close, and don't feel like you have to run the Caesar's Guard. Moving on to the weapons. Now, it's going to be no surprise. First off, I'm going to mention use whatever weapon you prefer, but best in slot is going to be the capacitor for the 60% skill damage it can net you when you're at 40 stacks. It also nets us that 45% weapon damage from having all 6 skill tier cores. We're going to use the mop in our offhand, and much of the time I will have this in my hand. The mop has in sync. It's a really easy way to pop 30% skill damage and weapon damage bonus. But the big one is that 10% armor on kill, and a lot of our survivability is right there. Oftentimes I'll start using the capacitor, and if I take enough damage, then I'll swap over to the mop, knowing that I'm going to lose those capacitor stacks, but I can get a lot of that back through the in sync. And in the offhand, we're going to use the backup boomstick with Future Perfect or Sledgehammer. I got Future Perfect, but whichever you prefer. You may get more yardage out of Sledgehammer, as it does not have a cooldown. And all of our explosives, damage to armor does buff the explosives. So if you're fancy on swapping weapons a lot, you may be able to take advantage of Sledgehammer in that offhand perk, in that offhand talent. Other options we would consider running would be the Harmony or the Test Subject if you want to go for perfect in sync, and this can net you a very quick 40% skill damage and weapon damage bonus. You could run with the Surge or the Maxim 9 for perfect spike. That's a 25% skill damage bonus for 15 seconds just for getting a headshot. In harder content, this could be a safer way to play. And you could also use something like the Lefty or the Stage Left for the perfect Sledgehammer if you are fancy with switching weapons a bit. You might even keep it in your main hand, but that would net you that 40% damage to armor to any of those enemies affected. Alright, agents, lastly about the weapons, I'll note, if you have a favorite weapon or one that you're really good with, use that weapon. Use whatever your favorite talent is. This is just min-maxing the damage here, and you can get by with lesser numbers, especially if it adds to your playstyle or your survivability. Okay, now we're going to move on to the mainstay of this, the Bombardier Drone itself. So in this iteration, you will have between a 13 to 15 second cooldown, depending on the amount of skill haste you have. You will expect to see 2.3 to 2.5 million as the base damage for each one of these bombs. In PvP, you will expect that to equate to 650 to 700,000 damage per bomb. Stock, you will have 9 bombs. This can be modified up to 11. Each bomb will have a 4.5 meter radius. Note that the bombs can be overlapped, and with some strategic positioning, you can get it so most enemies caught will be hit by at least 2 of the bombs. Alright, let's quickly, before going over the intricacies and the nuances of running this type of build and specifically playing with the Bombardier Drone, let's talk about the other explosive skills. The Shrapnel Trap, the Burster Firefly, and the Demolisher Firefly are so niche we won't talk about that here, but this build does buff those. You have the Explosive Sticky Bomb, which has about a 19-second cooldown, has about 5.9 million base damage and just over a 5 meter radius. There's the Mortar and the Stinger Hive, which can be deployed and taken down. The Mortar does about 4 million per shell with about a 6.8 meter radius and adds about 65k bleed. The Stinger Hive does about 1.1 million per charge, adds about 60k bleed per tick. The Stinger Hive is great in extreme close quarter combat. The 2 other skills I would recommend running, depending on if you're PvP or PvE, is the Explosive Seeker Mine or the Cluster Seeker Mines. The Explosive Seeker Mine is better oriented for PvP. It has a shorter cooldown, higher damage, adds bleed, as well as it has full armor kill potential if you can get a few buffs going. On the other hand, the Cluster Seeker mines have a 30-second cooldown, which is 50% longer than the explosive mine, but you do put out 10 mines. They each do 3.2 million base damage with only a 2-meter radius, however. But here's the kicker in PvP. In PvP, the Cluster Seeker mines only do 575k base damage. Only one mine will track an agent at a time, so there is no full armored kill potential with the Cluster Seeker mines, except for the very few exceptions where there happens to be 2 agents right next to each other and 2 bombs go off right next to each other. And at that point, well, you might get lucky and get a double kill anyway, so that'd be awesome. All right, to try not to keep this too long, I'm going to quickly go through the pros and cons, and then I'll give you guys my opinion. So the pros to using the Bombardier Drone, it's just really fun to hear these guys scream and the funny things they say as the bodies go flying through the air. That's probably my favorite thing about using explosive builds. It's also fun when you have a group of ads spawning, they start running, you set out the Bombardier Drone, and it literally takes out the entire group of ads in one shot. And what's even better is when you proc skilled, so you immediately have your next drone back. One of the other big advantages of this is it just changes up the standard run and gun cover shooter gameplay that the Division was kind of meant to be played. So it changes up the entire perspective of the game. And lastly, it's really fun to see these big numbers when you're playing with explosive builds. The downside is, and I guess this would also be a con, is that most of the big numbers will come from your other skills, not from the drone itself. And after we get done with this, before we show any last little bit of gameplay, I'm going to show you guys exactly what I mean in the gun range by showing the drone versus the Cluster Seeker mines. Anyway, let's talk about the cons. Okay, targeting's an issue, especially if you're at a different elevation than when you're trying to target. It can be just a huge pain in the ass and can lead to you killing yourself. The drone cannot go around objects, so despite thinking the drone would just, no. It will either detonate immediately or maybe drop a couple bombs and then detonate. But if you try to send it where it has to go around anything, I got bad news for you. So the drone cannot go anywhere that the agent can't. So anything that's elevated, any places the enemy is, but we are not allowed to go there, the drone will not go there, which is incredibly infuriating considering that's kind of the whole point in having the drone, right? So it can go places we can't. So another issue is, while it says that it has 11 bombs, you can only drop so many bombs in any given area of deployment. So the longer deployment area, your start to your ending zone, the more bombs you'll be able to get out. So that means at times, while you can get some overlapping of the bombs, a lot of times it only drops 4, 5, 6 bombs instead of the 11 it's supposed to drop. So I think I've already covered this, but sometimes the drone will just take off, there's nothing there, and it just blows up. So one of the biggest issues I have with the drone is I would say it can easily miss, but more specifically, the drone's travel time is so long, it's so telegraphed, that the enemies will often just move right out of the way. And that's the most frustrating when we're in something like legendary content where the drone already does not really have one-hit kill potential on fully armored, full health ads. So that's one of just the most frustrating things. When everything's all set up, I'm like, yes, we're gonna get a bunch of, everybody moved out of the way. So I don't know if they could make the drone move a little faster. I'd appreciate it. Unless you're using the Stinger Hive or the Mortar, there's a chance, if skill doesn't proc, that you could be stuck with a 20+ second cooldown on both skills, and that could be a precarious situation, especially if you're getting rushed. So probably the last thing that I will say about it is that the drone can easily, and this is much like the Mortar, if anything goes awry, it's really easy to end up killing yourself with the drone.
Agent vital signs 0.
And all of that right there is why I stopped using the Bombardier Drone. That's it right there. The targeting. I wish it was more user-friendly. I'm hoping that maybe you guys on PC it is, and you don't have the issues that we have on the console. I would love to see this drone in a better position. So that leads to my opinion. There's just so many easier ways of doing damage. I mean, I would use the Ninja Boom build. I just wouldn't use the drone. I mean, the Stinger Hive is great for close quarter combat. The cluster mines are great for open areas. You can use the mortar to great effect from a safe place. The mortar you can use to do anything you would do with the drone, and it works faster and it's easier to use. I guess any position that I would use the drone, I'll just use the mortar instead. And from a PvP aspect, I mean, you got the Stinger for close quarter combat. You got the explosive Seeker Mine, which can go and one-shot people. It just... The Bombardier Drone, if it traveled faster, if it was more reliable, if it could go to all the areas where the enemies are, if it could literally fly over things, fly around things, if it was just practical, I could see using it. The other option, double the damage on it. Okay, it still has all of these issues. I already won my one shot myself anyway, so that doesn't matter. So double the damage on it so that it is viable in the damage arena. So here's the drone damage with Future Perfect and in sync. It only killed the red bar targets. That's all it could do. Now in comparison, here's cluster Seeker Mines just by themselves. And now, cluster Seeker Mines with overcharge and full stack. And as you can imagine, it's not even close. All right, so there you have it. You see the drone cannot even compete. So maybe at some point before they stop addressing the game, they will buff it a little bit. I'm not going to hold my breath, but I did want to show you guys this skill as it was one of the very first. I mean, the second build video I did was about the cluster mines and the drone, so I figure it only fitting I do this video. I want to thank you guys so much for making it through this. Do me a favor, smash that like button, be greatly appreciated. Hopefully by now I've earned your guys' subscription. Best thing you can do to help my channel is share this video and leave a comment. Let me know, what do you guys want to see next? And let me know this, guys. Where do you think the Division 2 is going from here? Leave a comment down below. Y'all be as safe as you need to be, and I will check you all in the dark zone. Peace out, everybody.